Hey everybody, Tennessee Fly Angler here, and we're going to talk about bamboo fly rods for a minute. So, maybe you got a hold of one somehow. Maybe your granddaddy left you one in his will. Found one in your parents' basement. Found one at a flea market, yard sale. Looked one up, found it in an antique shop. Got it for a good price, took it home with you. Maybe I'm going to hang it on the wall. Maybe I'm going to take it out and fish it. Well, there's a couple things you need to look for, because a lot of these are old. And these are not wood. Bamboo is a grass. I'll go ahead and clear that up now. It is a cane. These are split cane rods, hexagonal style, 6 pieces of cane that are glued together in a hexagon pattern, and a lot of them are tapered. And to be honest, they're a blast to fish, even the cheap ones. So we're going to start out with just a couple things you need to know. You can almost narrow it down to 4 categories of rods. You got your Japanese fly rods first off. These are extremely common. They are cheaply made. A lot of them come in a wooden box with flies. Some of them have a reel. The majority of them are combination rods, like where you can pull the butt end out, flip it over, put it in. I've got one right here actually. And put that in, you got a fly rod, flip it over, put that in, you got a spinning rod. These here were made, the majority of them were made post-war. They were brought home as souvenirs. They don't fish well. They're cheaper, and they're a great wall hanger. So if you get a hold of one of them, unless it's in incredible condition, it's not going to be worth any more than $75 maybe. Now, they did make some nicer ones that may fetch $100 plus, but those are not as common, and a lot of collectors just don't buy them. They just don't buy them. And then you got your blue-collar rods. Your rods that are sold, like this one here. This is a Horax Abatson, extremely common to find, as well as a Montague. These were sold by mom and pop bait shops, sporting goods stores, hardware stores, and the like. They made thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of these rods in many different models. This one here is one of their middle to high grade, I guess. It's called the Governor, but it's a nice rod. I can't wait to fix it up. It needs a couple of guides redone. The varnish is in decent shape. All sections are the same length. Since we're talking about sections, I'll get to that in a minute. Now, your next step up is your higher end rods. Your Leonards, your R.O. Winstons. This one here was sold by Abercrombie and Fitch. A lot nicer quality. You have a couple you could look at, you could definitely see the difference in quality. The ferrules are made nicer, they're machined. A lot of them have a really nice stripping guide on there. The reel seats are nicer, better quality cork, better quality cane, more wrappings, more guides on the rod itself. The more guides, the better feel you have on the rod. Then you've got your custom rods, which are hard to pin down of what they are because they were handmade. Unless you had a maker, then a lot of those can fetch a decent value. But let's go back to these windings. Now, you need to check for, when you get one or looking into buying one, check the windings. Make sure all of them are original. This one here, they're not all original. You can see the stripping guide is missing, and it has some windings up here that I can just peel off. This one has to be rewrapped completely. I plan on stripping this down to a bare rod. I'm going to try to leave the Governor name on here and rewrap it with silk and get it looking pretty and get it wet. So that's the first thing you need to look for is the windings. 2, if you're looking from a value standpoint, you need to make sure all the sections are the same length. 95% of the fly rods out there that are bamboo are 3 sections. Some of your smaller rods, so your 3 weights and your 2 weights, are 2 section. A lot of them had extra tips. So a lot of these bamboo fly rods originally came with 4 sections. You had 3 sections and an extra tip. Are they all the same length? That's the biggest thing as far as value. Luckily, this Horax Abatson here, I don't have the extra tip, which affects the value, but they are the same length. So that tells me that it has not been broken. It could have in the past, and they scarfed it really well, but I don't see any signs of repairs, so that's a good sign. fishing a rod that has shorter sections, most of the time this tip section is the one that's shorter. You hang it in a tree, you get hung in a tree, and you snap the rod back really quick. It'll break that tip off. It'll break it off at the ferrule. A lot of the older headings are bad about breaking in the midsection on the ferrule, etc., etc. Another thing you need to look for as far as value, that is to have the original bag and the original tube. Now, a lot of these entry-level rods, like the Union Hardwares, the Shakespeares, the Montagues, the Horrocks, the Botsons, they didn't even come with a case. Some of the middle grade to higher quality ones, most of them did, but a lot of them come in this style case here. The rod would just lay into these spots, and you would fold these over and just tie it down. But like I said, a lot of them didn't even have that. They were just on the shelf. Cases were separate. You had to buy them separate. But anyway. So that's another thing you need to look for as far as value. Now, as far as fishability, you want to make sure a couple of the major key things. Do the ferrules fit together snug and even? If they don't, you can clean these and make them fit. And I can do that in another video. Also, you need to make sure they're not loose or cracked. A lot of these cheaper rods, they're bad about cracking. If they're cracked, you need a new ferrule. It's as simple as that. You do not want to fish with that. Then you move on to the reel seat. Is the reel seat loose? Don't grab the cork and twist this, because it could potentially loosen it. These are old. Grab the cane and loosen it. This one is tight. I can use this. I do not have to take the reel seat off. Also, look at the grip. A lot of rods that are stored in basements without the bag or sleeve, mice like to chew on the cork here, which, as you can see, one has got a hold of that. And you can fix that or just replace the whole grip. That's a couple things you need to look for right off the bat as far as fishing these. Another thing is the varnish. Most all these bamboo rods were coated with a varnish, and you can see it needs to be shiny. If there's a dull spot, take your fingernail and press in. Just inspect it. Make sure these aren't soft. Make sure you don't see any splitting sections between the sections of the cane. This rod here, as I said earlier, I plan on completely redoing this. And all these sections are straight. They're all the same length. The ferrules are in good shape. This will make a nice fishable rod. And all I got to do is put new guides on and rewrap it, revarnish it, and there we go. So, hope y'all learned something from this video. They're fun to fish with, these old cane rods. So if you're just getting into it or thinking about getting into it or want to know what you've got sitting in your closet, give me a like, subscribe. I'm on Facebook of Edwards Fly Fishing. Check me out there too. I do post some updates here and there. I don't get out here a whole lot, but I do get out here to mess with these old things. So check back with us. And thank you for watching. Tight lines.